Welcome back to another episode of RPG Love, picking up the Pixels RPG Love. There we go. I had it backwards. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Musum.
Hello.
Mina's a little under the weather this month, so she's going to sit out for this episode. But I'm sure that she will be back next month with double the amount of games to talk about. So tune in then. I don't think I have anything here at the beginning. Oh no, we're just talking about Patreon, so I should probably plug that. Patreon.com/E1M1. The ones are numbers. There's a brand new show that Moonpeer and I are doing called Critical Misses. Basically, we're going through... it's sort of the sister show to Old Dog New Flicks, where that was focused on kind of one-off movies. This one is focused more on series. So this first season, we're doing the Fast Saga that I've never seen, and Moonpeer loves a lot. For patrons, you get at the $2 level 2 months early. Episode 3 for Tokyo Drift should be up on the feed now, so you can go listen to what we think about the Fast Saga's probably most divisive movie. And we've been having a lot of fun with it, and I would highly recommend giving it a listen. Patreon.com/E1M1. Musum, boy, I'm just not here today. Musum, what have you been playing this past month?
I have been playing a crap ton of games because I think that's just my default state when the world is what it is. Right. So the game I've probably spent the most time with, I'm not going to talk about on here, which is our game club game this month, which is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, the first one. Everyone go look for that podcast here in 2 weeks, and go buy it from GOG for $5 or $10 or whatever it's going for.
Yeah, I think I spent like $6 on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. So just go play it and try it out, and
download the fan patch.
It's a janky game, but anyway.
Got a lot of love in it.
Yeah. So I've been playing where to start? So we'll start with Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark. Been playing a bit of that. It's just kind of the perfect couch. Hey, I'm watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or I don't remember what the other show I started was. Doom Patrol. Just the perfect turn something on, and like I'm on my second playthrough, so I'm kind of just grinding some classes in anticipation for one of our news stories.
Right.
But it's just I really like this game. Like, I like the vibe it has. The art style's really grown on me a lot over time.
I was watching a trailer that you just linked here in the show notes, and the art style is so cool, and I can... It's one of those games where I can definitely see when someone sees it that it could be pretty divisive, but man, does it look cool, especially the character portraits. Like, that's a cool looking game.
Yeah, it's a neat game, and I really like the story, like in reflection. Like, the characters, I think, are a lot of fun in it, and I like that all the special classes are these weird, evil things, but your party's, like, very wholesome.
Right.
It's a funny contrast, but it fits with the dynamics of the story, and I'm very curious about this DLC we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just all character grinding. So a few weeks ago, there was a sale on a game that I'd had tagged on Nintendo Switch. Like, sometimes I'll just browse the store and watch trailers and read things and just wish list it and move on. And this one went on sale for $1. And I at first Googled review, and then I thought, this is $1, John. You can
just take the dive.
This is less than a modern day candy bar right now.
Right.
Like, so I bought it, and so this game is called Omen, Exetio Plague. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's advertised as a Lovecraftian kind of choose your own adventure RPG. So the way this game is presented is you're looking at a book, right? And they'll usually have a little sketch of a picture, and it's mostly reading, but you have a character sheet as well. So the decisions you make in the game will enhance certain abilities on your character sheet. Okay. And as you encounter certain things throughout the story, how good you are at those things will determine whether you pass that encounter or not. And I kind of gather there are multiple endings. The setting for it is this kind of, gosh, I should have looked up the year, but it has that kind of almost Indiana Jones era feel, where you're in this somewhere between World War I and II kind of era, where you have some Nazi-like cult thing in the background that for some reason wants to hire you, the doctor, to do something, and there's a lot of exploring areas and dealing with a plague that is killing people and having prophetic and disturbing dreams, and it's a neat little game. It took me probably about 4 or 5 hours to get through. I'm not a very fast reader, so I would imagine most people it would go faster. One of the things I really enjoyed about it was the sound design, because it's not a game you would expect to have much in the way of sound design, but they do a really good job about picking up the music as you reach a page where something happens and putting in different sound effects to kind of accentuate whatever's supposed to be kind of creeping you out at the moment. But it's not it's definitely kind of a horror thriller game, but it's not scary per se.
More like a thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're interested to finish the story, but you're not, it's not terrifying by any means.
Right.
But it's a fun little indie game. I enjoyed the style. I love the idea of having a character sheet to go along with the choose your own adventure aspect. So it's probably normally priced at $5 or $10. So I feel like it's a fairly safe game to recommend.
Yeah, I'm looking it up here on the eShop. It's $10. It says it takes place in Zanzibar, 1896.
Yeah. Well, and that's another cool feature they have, is as you are taken to different locations through the world, they have a map button that'll kind of tell you, like it'll show a map of Zanzibar or London or wherever it is you're at the time.
Yeah.
So like some of the decisions will be, where do we go first on this island? And you'll kind of choose from there.
Yeah, this game looks super cool. Omen, Exetio, Plague.
Yeah.
For anyone that's looking it up. That looks cool.
It's a neat little game. It's a nice thing. Like, I've always wanted to play like a lot of the visual novels you and Mina do. Mm-hmm. So like having a little short experience like this is a good way to get my feet wet, even if it's probably nothing like those games at all.
Well, it's cool because it sort of marries the traditional kind of straightforward visual novel where it's just largely decision-based sort of pathways with kind of that cool, the thing that we love RPGs for, especially like the Outer Worlds is one of the most recent ones, where it's like you have all these text-based choices and you have all these skill checks on top of them. I think that's a really cool combination of the two.
Yeah, I certainly thought so. I would love to see some more people kind of steal that idea. Like, like it's such a cool idea that I want to steal the idea, but I don't. Right. I probably don't have the time or follow through. But I will be looking more from this studio whose name I forgot. But
yeah, a Kickstarter success too. I just saw that.
Oh, nice! I didn't know that.
Yeah, good for them.
Let's see. I played a bit more Persona 5 Royale. Mm-hmm. Finished Madarame's dungeon. I still don't like Yusuke. If you watch Parks and Rec, I've decided like he reminds me of the character Oren from that.
Yes.
Which is the weird, creepy guy at parties. Like, yep. Honestly, like coming to that conclusion made me like Yusuke a little bit more, but
at least he's a little more entertaining now.
Yeah. But it's amazing how much they pack into this remake. Like every few hours you encounter something new, some new system or mechanic or something that they have added in. Like, it's a lot. So yeah, I was really enjoying that game, and then I was drinking with a friend and then loaned it to him. So I guess I won't be playing that for a bit. And other than that, it's been a bit of a Xeno month.
Yeah.
Like I don't communicate well in text. And me and Mina were having a discussion on Twitter, so I feel bad talking about all this stuff. But I communicated very poorly with whatever I was intending to communicate on Twitter with her. And then went into a spiral of, you know what, I'm going to start playing Xenogears again. So, and that was an ordeal because I don't own my physical copy anymore. I forgot I'd loaned it out a decade ago, and the person lost it.
Lost to the sands of time.
Yep. I'll have to remedy that one of these days. So then it was, well, how should I play this? Should I play this on PS4? And the answer is no, because it's not out for PS4.
Right.
But I owned a digital copy on PS3, so then my options become evidently the PSP or the PS3. And I'm not sure if it works on Vita or not. I didn't test that
sometimes
out,
those like PS1 games that came out on PSP, it's like a real crapshoot if it works on Vita or not. Sometimes it's like, yeah, of course it works on Vita. It's like, no, this is one of the 3 games that didn't come over. It's like, oh, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. So what I wound up doing, because I already had my PS3 hooked up, I just turned that on, waited 15 minutes for it to update, and I had forgotten that, like, the PS3 will update itself, and then you'll get in there, and then you'll say, I want to do this thing, and then it'll update some other aspect of the engine.
Oh, right.
It was a weird kind of thing, but it went much faster than I typically remember about those old systems updating. I know PS3 was notorious for it, but in all fairness, I'm sorry, I'm forever a PS3 defender. In all fairness, if you didn't play your Xbox 360 for months on end, it would take the same amount of time for that thing to update.
Yeah, it's the same problem with the I think it was the PSP where you turn it on, it's like, well, the battery died. All right, let's charge it. Oh, now I have to set my date and time. Oh, all right, now I gotta, yeah.
Man, but. So I downloaded this, and that was another weird thing about the install. I forgot that the PS3's interface, the way it worked with PS1 games, is you download them, and it doesn't install the game when it downloads it. You then have to click on it.
That's right.
And wait for it to... It was a weird experience. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a long story just to say I played a few hours of this game. I'm nowhere in it. Like, I went through the opening scene, which... Mina told me Luca was in it from Chrono Trigger, which I'm not sure if I ever knew that or if it'd just been 20 years since I played the game. But
yeah, there's a fun. There's like a couple little Square Enix game references in there, which I'm sure nowadays someone is like, well, Xenogears takes place in the Chrono universe. It's like, no, it's just an Easter egg.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I mean, if it does, then Luca's dead. Like,
yeah, Luca's been dead for like 2 million years or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she is very dead because that opening village gets nuked and she is not in the survivors. So
right.
But man, that is such a strong intro to a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, talk about, like, immediately, especially if you're into anime, like, all the animation for the game's, like, phenomenal, but just the opening sequence of having that village and running around it is the tutorial, and then, like, spoiler, I guess, for 30, 20 or whenever that game came out. Like, your main character goes berserk and nukes his own village, basically, at the beginning of the game. So you're left in a really awkward place. And, you know, then you go off with Saitan, and then the gear that Faye, the main character, desperately does not want to drive at first.
Right.
And then you run into Ellie, and, like... So one thing I had forgotten about this game is when you are not in the mechs and you're just fighting in person, I'd forgotten basically everything about that battle system and what it looked like. So for starters, the fighting animations are freaking killer in that game.
They're so good.
Like, gosh, the pixel animation are... I would love to see that up-resed somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can, but it's...
When there's so much animation because... I feel like it's something we probably haven't seen in a really long time, that it really is just pixel based and it's nothing else. And there's just so many frames of animation for so much of that stuff that it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. And like the fight system, it's still turn based, but you activate your character's turn, and then they have a certain allotment of points that they can use in that moment.
Yeah.
And you kind of input a combo, and they'll do a combo move. But that's the way you learn combo moves, is by doing those combo buttons before you have them.
Yeah, it's like, what happens if I push square, square, X? Oh, that's a new combo, but what about square, X, X? Oh, that's a different one. And then what if I start with X instead of, like, man, that system is cool.
And like so also the animation for the game I thought was interesting, because I started, Mina had mentioned that Xenogears had started out as Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
And looking in the final execution of those two, it's interesting, because Final Fantasy VII is the opposite of Xenogears. It has hand-rendered backgrounds.
Yep.
And polygon characters, whereas Xenogears is like these hand-rendered beautiful characters, and then like these, polygon backgrounds, which is a really cool effect. I just enjoy how much of the opposite direction Xenogears goes than Final Fantasy VII, But gosh, that's I want them to re-release this like they did Final Fantasy VII and give me a speed up button, because the movement in the game is way too slow.
Well, and on top of that, every piece of text that displays in the game that isn't in a text box is like agonizingly slow. It's like that whole game just needs to kind of be tightened up and have some quality of life stuff. And it's, we're coming up on the Final Fantasy V Forge Out Fiesta here in a couple of weeks. If anyone hasn't pre-registered, now's the time to go do it. It's really weird / frustrating to see companies with such a big back catalog of RPGs that are so beloved, like Square Enix, not take advantage of some of these platforms. Like you're talking about Xenogears, like that didn't even come to PS4 and Xbox One. I mean, there's something really weird about these games that they're not taking advantage of. Oh, well, they brought it to PS4, I'll buy it again. Oh, they brought it to Switch, I'll buy it again. Especially with these big games like this, like it's so confusing.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a friend who thinks there's we'll just say my friend Dave. My friend Dave, who is obsessed with the whole Xeno franchise, whether you believe those are related or not.
All three iterations.
Yeah. And he's generally my reference for a lot of this stuff. But probably about a year ago, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius brought in the Xenogears characters, and then
that's right.
Figma brought out some Xenogears toys with Ellie, Faye, and the Weltall.
Oh, okay.
And my friend Dave's conspiracy theory is that Square Enix hates this guy at Monolith who makes these games and desperately does not want him to own the rights to Xenogears,
right?
And therefore only did that to prove that they were still using the license so they wouldn't lose.
You know what I think it is at the end of the day is there was an interview, I think Jason Schreier, however you pronounce it, when he was at Kotaku, had talked to one of the higher ups at Square and had said it was around when Final Fantasy V came out on Steam, and he said like, "Hey guys, we appreciate you bringing out these classic titles on different platforms, but like, can you at least give us the option of the original graphics? Like, I promise you that there are people out there that really want that option and want to see the original graphics." And he was so surprised that people wanted the original graphics as opposed to the new versions. So I don't think there's a conspiracy theory. I just genuinely think that Square doesn't think that how the games originally looked would appeal to anybody nowadays. And it's like, if they're gonna go back and play an older game like this, I don't think that person is gonna care.
Gosh, and Xenogears animations, like, they hold up. Like,
That's the anime stuff is really good.
yeah, like, I realize there'd probably be a resolution issue in terms of what the original, like, cutscenes were drawn in versus the screen you want to put it on. But, like, I bet there's some decent sharpening they can do. Like, they've been taking, like, all those 90s animes and you know, making them work on our 4K TVs. So I don't.
Right. Yeah, there has to be something they could go on. Yeah.
It has to be a method. But
yeah.
Anyway, I would kill for a modern version of this that lets me speed it up ×3 and has some equivalent to the Final Fantasy VII turn off random encounters, you know, make your limit break. I guess Xenogears has no limit break equivalent. But, you know, something to make
some God mode option.
Yeah, exactly. But anywho, so I also played a bit more Xenoblade Chronicles 2, just in anticipation of the first one's re-release. And it's funny, like, I get excited about going to play it because there are certain aspects of that game I really like. I really like when I get a new blade that is one of the special ones. I really like the combat system in that, but I really dislike almost every other aspect of that game. I don't think the character designs in it are very good. I think the level design, we'll say, is really nonsensical.
Over in TVGP, the nymph was stuck on finding a stairway for like 2 or 3 weeks because they're just like, the level design was so weird. He kept passing by it and had no idea it was there.
Yeah. I mean, they had a lot of cool ideas in it, but you can tell, like, interestingly enough, like this game, so Xenoblade Chronicles 2, made by Monolith, right? But it was made by, from what I've read, about 40 people.
Oh, wow.
It is like a giant game for 40 people. And the reason that is because most of their staff was working on Final Fantasy 15 or the Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Ah, okay.
Which is another weird, like, mix-up thing. And, like, they also didn't, they lost their UI designers. They had no UI designers for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Which,
that's crazy.
Explains why their menu system is horrid and
right.
Like, I'll talk about that more in a minute, but it's just shocking how poorly that game communicates, like, information with the player, especially a game that is based around managing hundreds of summons, basically hundreds of blades, right? Yeah. But it's anyway, so when I was playing, it took me probably about an hour to remember how the combat worked, because it's a cool combat system that just takes a while to remember. Like, it's not quite like anything else. Of course, immediately, like, the first thing I do in the game is I'm looking at, like, well, what do I need to do? And I'm like, oh crap, I still got to unlock, like, these last things on this one blade, the Nopon's blade. I forgot that character's name, but anyway, you have to play this arcade game called Tiger, which is a god-awful game. Why they included this, like, you're like a diver that goes, like, it's a 2D diver thing where you go down and collect treasure, and then you have to go back up. But it's also a thing where anything you touches hurts you.
Okay.
And you have to score 50,000 points in this game to unlock this one blade's final ability. I think that's right. And then there's also a DLC quest to get a certain amount of points in the game too. And I played it for like an hour straight, and then I'm like, why am I wasting my time with this?
Right. Like, why am I bashing my head against the wall?
Yeah. But anyway, I pushed the story forward a little bit. I'm not very far in it. It's my second playthrough, so I just kind of walk over everything for the most part. It's kind of nice finding some of these named monsters that I hadn't beaten yet. But, like, the part I got stuck on is I needed to Like it's early on in the game, like in chapter 2 or something. Like you have to go from this one city to this shipyard. And getting to the shipyard, I kept forgetting, like okay, so in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, like all the cities are built on these giant titans, they call them, right?
Right.
That are constantly moving. So you can go to an inn and rest, and it'll raise the tide level, and it'll lower the tide level.
Oh, okay.
The tide level, like you can only access certain areas of the map if the tide level is either raised or lowered. So finding this area, I kept forgetting whether it needed to be raised or lowered, and then like getting there was also like real. It's like, okay, I see the point on my map. How the heck do I get over there? Because I know where I'm going. But
right.
My friend Dave saved me again. I'm like, how do I get here? And he's like, go to the lumber yard. It's around the corner from there. So did that, got through there, got to chapter, I don't remember, 3 or something. I got to the next Titan area, wherever that is. And then Xenoblade Chronicles 1 came out. To complete my Xeno month. And it is amazing turning this game on and playing it, and how it's better than its sequel in almost every discernible manner. Like the characters are, I like the character designs better. I can't figure out what is different about the UI, because functionally it seems the same. I still press the, I don't remember the Nintendo button layout, but in terms of the diamond right-hand button layouts, it's the one on the left. Like, we'll pull open the map, and Xenoblade 2 does that too, but for some reason it makes more sense to me traversing the button landscape in Xenoblade 1.
Right.
I've been playing it a decent amount, and it helps too that the combat is so similar to Xenoblade 2, because I can immediately go, okay, there's not as much emphasis on the break, topple, launch, smash order of sequences that you do in that game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because there's all those, like the built-in status effects you have to do to all the enemies. Yeah,
but they have like I don't remember much about the original version of this game, but I do know the abilities did not used to gain exclamation points when you were on the correct side of the enemy to get their extra status effects.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah, it's super helpful. It's you do wind up watching your abilities more because of that than actually what's going on the screen, but it's still nice, and it's, you know, you get used to hearing the main character say "Monado" like constantly.
The
Monado. But it's still an enjoyable game. It's still a game that I think has a it's not as strong as like the original Xenogears intro, and that it's not as concise. But it's still a fairly strong intro where they do something that you aren't quite expecting.
Right.
I'm pretty sure this other aspect is new. As you gain armor and such, like you have an equip screen for your armor, and then you also have an equip screen for visually how your armor looks. So at any given point, you can have, I don't remember any of the armor's name. We'll say the colonist armor on your chest, but you want it to look like the Titan armor.
Oh, okay, cool.
So you can manage those two things separately, which I really like.
Nice.
The skill trees, the abilities in this game are so weird. So they have what they call skill trees, which are things you just, each character has 3 trees and you assign them to one, and as you battle, they gain points in that. And it's not like a Diablo skill tree or something where you're selecting abilities. You're just letting things fill up, and eventually an ability unlocks. Now they have the ability to link those with other characters as you unlock them. I'm not super clear on the benefits of this yet. I probably should have read whatever it told me when it happened.
In its million tutorials.
Exactly. So Xenoblade Chronicles 1, it is bad about info dumps.
Yeah.
It does a lot of info Like, you'll finish one tutorial, text box tutorial thing for it to immediately start another. And you're like, can't you give me time with the first one, man?
Right. Yeah.
It's, anyway, I really like this game a lot. It's, it doesn't quite look as good on... I know Nintendo Switch does not do 4K, but I got a 4K TV in March, and it does not look as good on my 4K TV as I feel like it should.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I still really like that game. I've never beaten it, so hopefully I'll get farther in it than I used to.
As long as you can avoid the 5 million mini quests, side quests.
Oh, right. I forgot another thing, because this is an interesting feature that I appreciate, but I wish they had just made it a run button. So as you're running, you can press a button to auto run. So your character will just keep running in that same direction.
Nice.
Without you holding anything. But the character running is still slow in my opinion, so I feel like it's a...
Right.
Just give me a speed up button, man.
Right. Yeah, just give me a run button.
Like that game is super spread out.
It's one of those games that's really surprising how big it is, since it was on the original Wii. It's like you get in that first plains area and it's like, oh, this is pretty big, and you start exploring. Like, no, this is really big. Like, this is... How'd you guys do this?
It is gargantuan. It's like, maybe you guys should have scaled it back a tiny bit, because I'm literally just running through a field with nothing in it for like 10 seconds before something happens. Where like you compare it to like a Skyrim, and it's like you can't walk 2 feet without stumbling over something.
Right. Tripping into another cave.
Like maybe just find a happy medium between those two. Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so that is everything I've played.
Okay. I was hoping to come on here and talk about Minecraft Dungeons, because it is promoted as like a starter Diablo hack and slash loot game, and it very much is. If you have kids, or if you're looking at getting started in that sort of dungeon crawling, loot grinding kind of genre, then this is a really good start. But it's not really an RPG. You do get experience and you do gain levels, but that there's no skill trees, there's nothing like that. There's no classes or anything like that. It's all dependent on... You essentially have your... there's 3 slots on the top of your character sheet. It's like your melee weapon, your armor, and your ranged weapon. And then the bottom 3 slots on your character sheet are all of your skills. And that can really be anything you want. So if you want to be like a soul-stealing mage, you can just equip that, and you can just do that. Or if you want to be someone who's focusing on ranged and have a pet build, you can do that too. Just equip the artifacts in those slots, which I think is good, because then you don't have to be like, oh, I want to try out this other class. Now I have to start the whole game back over. But as a result, not really an RPG in the sense that we would talk about on this show, which is kind of a bummer. But the only other thing I've been playing, because this month has been really busy, is I made some more progress in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I am halfway through Wall Market, and I stopped dead in my tracks. I just did the boss fight at the end of the Colosseum. I won't spoil that for anybody, but that was a really good boss fight. But man, is Wall Market just kind of sucking the fun out of that game for me. I really need to just push through it and get past it. It's largely in part because I think Wall Market is a really cool place, and I think they do it such great justice in expanding how it was in the original game. Because the original game was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 screens. Like it was big, but nothing super crazy. And in this game, it's a really big area that's real twisty and turny. It has all these tight corridors and stuff, which is really cool. But the majority of the beginning of that area is you having to go to this place to talk to someone, go to these 3 places, scatter around to talk to those people, go all the way to the other side to go talk to this other person. And there's so much back and forth. I keep punching my mic today. There's so much back and forth in that area that it's driving me nuts. and it's kind of, I'm coming off of a really strong section where you and Aerith were just exploring together in Sector 5, like with Aerith's house. All that stuff was really strong. And then to kind of hit wall market, I feel like is kind of a low. But overall, really enjoying it. I really enjoyed all that Sector 5 stuff with Aerith. All the side quests were really great. Going through the robot arm puzzles were all pretty good. I liked that whole section. And the Coliseum was really good. It's a lot of fun to just get unleashed and say, here's just a bunch of waves of enemies, just go fight them. That was
the
really
combat system is so good.
Yeah, it really is. The game is really great, and I was on a really great tear with it until I hit that. And the other part too is it's really hard to play around my kid because I feel like the violence isn't that bad. It's not like playing Doom Eternal where it's like, oh, well, that's real rough. But there's so much swearing in it. My kid's only 3, so like I don't want her to be exposed to all of that. So it's hard to kind of find some time to play the game. But I am enjoying it, and I wish I had more time to play anything this month because that's all I've played. So let's move on to releases here real quick. The Outer Worlds is out now on Switch. I've been reading a lot of reviews on this because I've been trying to figure out if I'm sure a lot of people say like, oh, cool, it's out on Switch. Should I buy it? The answer seems to be if it's literally the only place that you can play it, you should play Outer Worlds. But if you have anything else you can play it on, you should really play it there. Just from like a loading speed perspective, like controls, graphics, definitely. Like it's just kind of a rough experience.
That's too bad. I knew it was going to take some sort of hit going on Switch. My hope would be, gosh, that really is a game that you need to experiment with kind of what you can do in it. So you want to be able to reload fast. So that loading times would be a problem. Yeah.
Ys Memories of Celceta, I'm going to assume is how that's pronounced. Comes out on PS4 on the 9th. Little Town Hero comes out on PS4 on the 23rd. This is the new RPG from Game Freak, the Pokemon company. They're basically making a super cute JRPG, and for some reason I thought this was only coming out on Switch, but everywhere I saw it said it was only coming out on PS4, which seems really weird for the company that makes Pokemon, but you know.
That is weird. I would have thought Nintendo owned them.
Yeah, I think they're still third party, but I think they're just the Pokemon people usually. So, Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark Missions and Monsters comes out on the 23rd for Switch, PS4, PC, and Xbox One. This is their brand new DLC, which looks like it adds a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, like I know they've added new classes, and one of them's like the Beast Tamer, so now you can capture monsters and raise them, but evidently they also have some sort of city development thing, it looks like from the trailer.
My weakness.
I'm not clear what it's doing in there, but it looks awesome.
Yeah. And lastly, Brigandine, The Legend of Runercia comes out on Switch on the 25th. This is a sequel to the 1998 title Brigandine. I don't know how you pronounce that. So not only did Streets of Rage get a sequel this year for a game series that we all thought was sort of in the ground, but this series did too. And man, does this game look pretty cool. If anyone hasn't heard about this series, it's basically grand strategy plus action RPG plus turn-based RPG. And the first one, the previous one on PlayStation 1 is much beloved. And I'm really glad that this one is coming out. This is one I'm gonna watch pretty closely because I could be in the mood for a new one of these. I never played the original, to be clear.
I haven't heard about this, but seeing the hexagonal tactics grid,
Yep.
like combined with the gosh, who's that Final Fantasy artist? Like it's the guy who does the covers,
Amano.
Yamamoto, huh?
Amano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The art style reminds me of his style to a degree.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move on to news stories. We just got two quick ones this month. Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning announced, which is a terrible and wonderful title. They're remastering Kingdoms of Amalur, the 360, and I think it came out on PS3 title. Coming out on PC and consoles this summer. It's going to have all the original DLC, along with what they call gameplay refinement, but they haven't really gone into that, so I'm sort of assuming that's just going to be some quality of life stuff that I'm sure. I haven't played Kingdoms of Amalur in a really long time, and I never finished it, so I'm sure there's just a bunch of really janky systems and janky stuff in there that I'm sure they're going to smooth out. The rumored release date is August 18th, but that hasn't been confirmed by THQ Nordic yet. So I'm sure it looks like it's coming out for $40, and that seems like a good price for a game that is really great. It was really great when it came out, and
that one's you can co-op that game, can't you?
I don't remember. That's a good question.
Okay. So what I want is to be able to co-op that and for it to come out on Switch, so my wife and I can play through it.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised that they're not bringing this out on Switch, but I wonder if it's one of those things where it's such a large game that I wonder if it would be a little too hard to port that over. But speaking of stuff that's coming on Switch, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered finally has a release date for August. It's coming out for PS4, Switch, iOS, and Android. This has crossplay and cross-save across all 4 platforms, along with online multiplayer. So if you ever wanted to play the original Crystal Chronicles, which was pretty good, that was the GameCube plus Game Boy Advance title, if I remember correctly, where you could hook up 4. I think you had to hook up 4 Game Boy Advances, right?
Yeah. If you wanted to do any co-op, then you had to have the Game Boy Advances.
Yeah,
but you could play it single player, and I think you had like a chocobo or something, or maybe it was a mug. Or you had something that would carry the lantern for you.
Yeah,
I remember that was the deal.
Yeah,
so there's always who's gonna lose.
Who's gonna carry the bucket?
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that was what a cool game that I just came out at the wrong time. Like a lot of Square Enix's GameCube stuff. It's like, this is really cool, and no one's gonna play this. This came out like a decade too early.
Yeah.
So it'll have a new life here on PS4, Switch, and surprisingly both mobile platforms, which is definitely not something I was expecting, but we'll see how that works. And that's it. That's our episode this month. Quick and easy, in and out. In about an hour. That's not so bad. If you'd like to visit us, you can do so at pickingupthepixels.com. Everywhere to find and follow us on the right-hand side of the page. Patreon.com/E1M1. The ones are numbers for all the cool stuff we talked about at the beginning of the show and more. Musa, where can we find you online?
You can find me at jbaudio.net, and also look for my video game, which is in early access on Steam, called Solos. I don't remember where you can find a link to it, but probably on my Twitter, at John Musa.
You can find Mina at Mina KO Rocket pretty much everywhere. And you can find my other shows at e1m1.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you all next month. Bye.
Bye.